Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Wednesday, September 24th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Some loudmouth MAGA influencers go to the campus of Tennessee State University to disrupt the students there. They were run off campus. Now they're complaining that, a race mob attacked them. Well, you were uninvited. We'll talk about that. Also, parents in Georgia are pissed off after some white students showed up in blackface at an event. Yep, that racism continues. Plus, Donald Trump close advisor Laura Loomer has a racist attack against Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. No shock, because that's the kind of people he likes to hang out with. Also in Mississippi, University of Southern Mississippi and the Mega Psi Phi face a federal lawsuit after a student says hazing left him hospitalized. We'll talk with his lawyer. We'll also hear from the president of the National Education Association about her plans to take on Donald Trump's administration's education agenda. Plus, 2 black men falsely accused in one of Boston's most infamous murder cases are finally get some justice 34 years later. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries held a news conference today talking about, of course, the looming federal shutdown. Lots to break down. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Charlie Kirk being killed, HBCUs were targeted with bomb threats. Now, a MAGA hate group decides to go to Tennessee State University. They call themselves the Freedom Tour. And what they do, Fearless Tour, they go to these college campuses. Now, here's the deal. They showed up at Tennessee State uninvited, did not seek permission, and set up their table. And the whole point, this is what the whole point was. You see right here, DEI should be legal, deport all illegals now. Then they got upset because students grabbed their signs and tossed them. And then, of course, they were escorted off campus by security. Now, the videos have been going around social media. Let's just roll it, turn the audio up.
Set up a table.
MAGA supporters invaded our HBCU.
What is going on over here?
You called the East primitive for what? We created y'all knowledge. We created y'all science. We created y'all math. Y'all didn't do shit besides steal. Y'all didn't do anything to your... You guys didn't make shit. You guys touched children. You guys fucked.
Showing them the door.
We walking them to the door, y'all. I don't even know how they got on campus. We gonna figure that out, but I don't know. They need to get like a trespass, penalty or something because
sending them off.
Tell him it's that boy. He thought he was gonna come up like Charlie.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Say good job, TSU.
Good job. Shout out to my good.
Okay, so let's be perfectly clear. They were not authorized to be on campus at all. Tennessee State University released a statement. This is what they said. Today, a group of individuals unaffiliated with Tennessee State University appeared on the campus without prior notice. In accordance with university policy, any demonstration or protest activity requires advance approval and permitting. Campus police and staff responded promptly, and the individuals were escorted from university grounds without incident. At all times, TSU students conducted themselves in a professional and respectful manner. The safety and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff remain our highest priority. TSU will continue to uphold university policies and ensure that campus remains a safe, welcoming, and orderly environment for all members of our community. Now, let me be perfectly clear, y'all. I'm a Texas A&M graduate, and even though I'm a graduate, if I decided to roll up at Texas A&M, set up a table in front of the Memorial Student Center, and I have language that probably white students there would disagree with, don't you know I'm going to be approached and told, I'm sorry, who are you? Are you authorized to be here? These individuals were not authorized. So why do they do this? To get exactly what they got. Their whole goal was to go viral. Their whole goal was to say, oh, look at these folks. They're protesting MAGA. This is ridiculous. And they've been on social media trashing HBCUs, talking about graduation rates, all those things. That's what their goal is. And so let me be real clear. You're going to see this happen again. Because, see, these right-wing influencers, okay, what they're going to do is, in the mold of Charlie Kirk, they are going to target other HBCUs. I'm telling you right now, don't think this is a single thing. They are going to do this to other HBCUs. It's all about getting under their skin, and they want to be able to say, oh, we're exposing these universities. And they're going to be saying, oh, we're exposing these state universities. See, the whole deal here is Tennessee State is in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. So their whole deal is, hey, guess what? We got a Republican governor. We've got a supermajority of the Republican legislature. And so, what do? Let's target them. So what we need to understand, HBCU students, faculty, and staff need to understand this is going to happen again. I guarantee you, it might be South Carolina State, North Carolina A&T, Texas Southern University, Florida A&M. It might be Albany State. We have no idea what it's going to be, but trust me, this is what these right-wing folks are going to do. What did I tell y'all? I told y'all at the outset of this year with the inauguration that what they're trying to do is defund Black America. It is the targeting of Black America. It is everything about Black America that they are targeting. See, these fools claim to have these fearless debates. Again, trying to do what Charlie Kirk do. Going to college campuses and say, we're going to have debates. We're going to be debating on campus. Now, y'all, it's not their goal. Their goal is to have, frankly, rage porn. They're going to be able to say, oh, to their white supporters, look at these savages. Look at the blacks. Look how they responded when we came on campus. We just came on campus in our Make America Great Again hats and with our signs. It's the First Amendment. That's what it's all is about. It's freedom of speech. That's what their goal is going to be. And so we need to be aware of this. We need to understand what their strategy is and to realize exactly what it is they're going to try to do. And so bottom line is these folks here, we know exactly who they are. We know exactly who they are. We know exactly how they're going to operate. We know exactly how they stand. And so it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Now, the TSU released a second statement. Okay, let's go ahead and read. Let's pull that up, please. Let's pull that up. And so again, that was an initial statement, then that was a second statement. And again, I just need y'all to understand what these people are all about. And so when we reached out to Texas Tennessee State, we wanted to have, of course, some folks appear on the show, but they actually declined. So this is what was released after the disruption. said, Dear TSU community, this afternoon, a group not affiliated with TSU, identifying themselves as Fearless Debates, appeared on campus without approval or notice. It has been brought to our attention that Fearless Debates has visited several other universities across the country. At TSU, the group carried poster boards with messages such as deport all illegals now and DEI should be illegal. The presence of hostile groups on our campus is not merely a political statement. It is an attempt to draw attention to their views by creating visibility at the expense of Tennessee State University students. The presence of hostile groups on our campus is not merely a political statement. It is an attempt to draw attention to their views. While we recognize and uphold the Constitution's rights to free speech, we also understand that there's a difference between exercising this right and engaging in actions that seek to disrupt, demean, and incite fear within the community. TSU Police Department, Metro Police Department, and staff responded swiftly by assessing the situation for any potential threat, de-escalated and escorted the individuals from university grounds without incident. TSU will not tolerate attempts to undermine the safety or value of our community. We stand in solidarity with our students and staff. We remain committed to ensuring our campus is a sanctuary for dialogue and education. As of this evening, we continue our investigation and are reviewing all video footage to determine how the individuals gained access to our campus. Thank you for your vigilance and for standing united in the face of provocation. So, folks, again, just need to understand, so many campuses are frankly wide open. You can literally walk on a lot of college campuses. They're not bound by gates and things along those lines. So it's no surprise this happened. Andrew Clark is the managing partner of District Legal Group DC. He joins us right now. Andrew, glad to have you here. Like I said, Andrew, this is real clear what's going on. They want viral moments. They want to be able to ramp up their right-wing MAGA base to say, look at this. We're unwelcome on this campus. Republican lawmakers, y'all should penalize them.
Yeah, and the interesting thing that I saw here is I think that they weren't just looking for a response, Roland. They were looking for a violent response because they wanted the violence. They wanted an uprising, and we're just not giving it to them. This school has 8,000 students. And like you said, it was inevitable that people were going to be perturbed by the fact that they were on campus. They knew this going in. But they didn't want to really debate anybody about anything. You see them walking around on live. These do not look like people that are seasoned debaters that are going to make their points. They weren't setting up fielding questions. They wanted to go there for a spectacle. And they wanted to go there for a spectacle because they thought that they were going to be the sacrificial lambs. They thought that they were going to get beat up by these 8,000 plus students at this school. And it did not happen. And I commend all of the students at that school for not taking the bait and for driving them out, and even some of them yelling facts at them as to why their positions are complete nonsense.
Yeah, and again, we need to understand this is going to be the case, and so how students react is going to be critically important.
Absolutely, absolutely, because as you said, it's going to be in other schools. There are other schools that are going to experience this, and if they follow this blueprint here, we're going to keep seeing these videos. They're going to keep getting escorted off of campuses, and like you said, it's going to be a free speech type of debate. But then it's hypocritical because we have the issue that we're dealing with Jimmy Kimmel, right? So they're being hypocritical in that respect. But I think that the reaction, as long as it's nonviolent and as long as it's spoken word, right, and not physical violence, then we are going to carry the day with this strategy.
Yep. So we know exactly what it is these folks are doing, and it's clear. All right, I'm going to go to a break. We'll be back right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Dr. Greg Carr. And coming up on the next Black Table, we're speaking with Dr. Lucius T. Outlaw Jr., master teacher and philosopher. He takes us on his journey to discover and celebrate Black philosophy.
From my undergraduate years at Fisk all the way through my PhD, I was never in a philosophy class where I had a professor who was a person of African descent, nor assigned a text written by a person of African descent, ever.
How he pushed back at those who said there was no such thing and got us all thinking about what it means to be Black. That's on the next Black Table, exclusively on the Black Star Network.
This is Eric Dickerson, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Laura Loomer, one of Donald Trump's closest advisors, launched a racist attack against Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, posting this. She, of course, is in Trump's ear constantly, and so go ahead and pull it up. This is the tweet right here. It hurts my heart that we have a ghetto Black bitches who hate America serving in Congress. Now, she was angry because of Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's response on various shows to the shooting death of Charlie Kirk. Now, she posted that, then she doubled down, mocking Crockett as a so-called DEI Shaniqua, a racist, sexist swipe meant to discredit her work. Now, Loomer has a long history of hate speech. It has been banned from multiple platforms. Again, Donald Trump calls her a free spirit and a patriot. That's who she is. Y'all can roll some of this crap.
That would ensure that the U.S. court, public agency, or any other legal institution never enforces or legitimizes Sharia law. And yes, there actually is Sharia law. Places like Minnesota, places like Michigan. But now you may have seen this video that has since gone viral in Texas. This video went viral several weeks ago, but I'm going to show you several examples of Sharia law here in America, because some of you are like, wait, what? Sharia law here? And the president himself mentioned Sharia law during his address today at the United Nations General Assembly and said that we can't allow that here in the United States. Let's go ahead and get Representative Randy Fine's legislation up on the screen here for people.
So again, I just want y'all to know that Donald Trump listens to her all the time. Donald Trump is taking her advice. She's actually led Donald Trump to fire a number of people from the federal government. But this is who these folks are, okay? They can't make an argument based on substance, so they have to resort to racist attacks. So, Andrew, none of us are shocked by the Loomers of the world. None of us are shocked how they act, how they respond. And so this is Donald Trump, this is MAGA, this is the Republican Party.
Yeah, we're not shocked, but it's still jarring to hear in such a public space people speak so negatively about another Black woman. I mean, Black women make up 4% of Congress, but if you see the clips, it's almost every single time that they open their mouth, they're attacked. And Jasmine Crockett is somebody that is unapologetically Black, and she's unapologetically in her space, and she speaks the truth. She speaks through facts. Now, sometimes people might think it's insulting, but she still is speaking through facts. And the way that she's presenting it, I guess they would like her to not be as affluent and not be as articulate as she's speaking, but she's a very, very powerful woman. And Loomer attacking her is just so, in my eyes, it's very disgusting. And it should be, I'm glad that she's kicked off of these platforms, because it's something that should never, never be seen, especially by young, impressionable children.
But this is what they do. And so, again, they can't make an argument on the merits, so they have to resort to race.
Exactly. And every time that they resort to race, for us, Roland, because we've been around for a while, we know that it's the tactic of, I can't beat you on the merits, so I'm going to go and attack you on race. We saw it with the birther movement with Obama. He was so articulate, so intelligent that they couldn't do anything but just attack. Well, maybe he's not really an American citizen. And wake up, because this has got to stop. This division in 2025 has got to stop. It is not black versus white. These are socioeconomic issues. And if white folks would stop voting against their own interests, maybe our country could progress.
Yeah, but what they're doing is they're appealing to their base. That's the whole deal. The reality is these folks in their racial language, that appeals to the right-wing base.
And Roland, the right-wing base, we have to really examine who the right-wing base is, right? Because if the right-wing base are all racist, if we're just going to categorize them as all racist, then how did Donald Trump win the election?
No. It's not categorize. See, it's not. See, this is not the issue. The issue is not categorizing all of the right-wing base's races. The issue is that racists are very comfortable in the right-wing base. So the tent of the right wing welcomes the racist.
Now that is a thought. That is a thought that is chilling to me because Republican.
But it's not chilling. David Duke ran as a Republican in Louisiana. Mitch McConnell has a gleeful picture standing in front of a Confederate flag. When the January 6th white domestic terrorists attacked the United States Capitol, they were waving Trump and Confederate flags. This is who they are. The only party that defends Confederate statues and monuments are Republicans. Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth brought back the Robert E. Lee painting at West Point. They brought back the naming of these bases. They embrace that racism in the past. They want to limit the telling of the real history of this country to resort back to his story. So the bottom line is this here. And so they love talking about racist Democrats and the Klan and things along those lines. Well, let's be real clear. The folks who were racist Southern Democrats, they're now Republicans.
And now you got to think about, is it the party of racists? Because if Democrats were doing this and supporting this, then you have to kind of, anybody that identifies, right? You can't say that, oh, I identify with their tax policy, so I'm a Republican, and ignore everything else that they're doing.
No, they do. No, they do. I was playing golf, and politics came up, and this white guy goes, yeah, I can't stand a lot of the crazy stuff he does, but I'm voting for him because of his policies. So, no, they are making a concerted effort. The folks who vote for Donald Trump are making a concerted effort to actually vote, to make a concerted effort to ignore what he says about women, to ignore what he says about black people, to ignore what he says about, all undocumented workers, they're all criminals. They all came out of prisons. Listen, a white woman made up the story about Haitians eating cats and dogs. And what happened was her animal was actually found. She later apologized. They made it up. But guess what? Donald Trump was on the airplane with Laura Loomer flying to Philadelphia, and it's no shock that that's when he brought it up in the debate against Vice President Kamala Harris. So this is who they are. They know that race works on the Republican side. You press the button of race, white conservatives react.
And it shouldn't be like that in 2025. That's the point that I'm making, that in 2025 we should be able to move past race and see that race is not really the deciding factor.
Hold on, Andrew, I'm sorry. I know you want this nice Pollyanna world. That world is not here. Lee Atwater, the person who was behind the election of President George H.W. Bush, who was later named the head of the Republican Party, that individual, Lee Atwater said, hey, it's recorded. It's recorded. He said, we don't have to use the N-word anymore. There's other language that we can use that appeals to our base. He said it.
So every single time now that we have a Republican candidate, they're going to insert race to be able to divide their base. I don't think they're dividing their base.
No, they're not dividing their base. They're not dividing their base. What they're doing is they are inciting their base. Listen, you can campaign on race. Where did Ronald Reagan start his presidential campaign? The same place, with the same county where the 3 civil rights workers were killed. Ronald Reagan could have picked anywhere in the country. Nope. He chose to do it in the county where Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman were brutally murdered by the KKK. Yep, he did that. That was Reagan. Wow. That was Reagan. So it's no surprise that Reagan refused to veto the anti-apartheid bill. That's no shock. It's no surprise. He opposed the federal holiday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's no surprise that he made up the welfare queen story of a black woman who was stealing money on welfare. Okay, that's who he was. Now, he might have had a great smile. He may have been, the Gipper and all this sort of stuff like that, but it doesn't mean that he wasn't racist. And see, what we've done in this country, what we've done is we have to understand there are racists and there are people who practice racial politics, and that's the difference. And so we have to recognize these things, and that's why I'm just saying that they are who they are. They are who they are, and they are going to use the issue of race. You could be talking to a Republican group of white Republicans. This happened in Chicago. There were a group of black Republicans in Illinois who were presenting data trying to get the Republican Party to appeal to African Americans. After the presentation, the first thing the white Republicans said, now we're not going to support the increase in welfare. Black Republicans looked at each other like, did any of us bring up welfare? But that's state of mind. Bruh, that's just who they are.
And for me, I think that I actually am going to go back on something that I said. Based off of what the Republicans are saying now outwardly, because they really aren't hiding it anymore. If you still identify with the Republican Party, you can't separate yourself from that view. You can't keep saying it's about tax policy. You can't keep saying that it's about their world views or their nationalism. This is simply, they're going after race. They're attacking Black cities. They're attacking Black mayors. They're going after race. So I think at this point, if you're part of the Republican Party, then you got to accept that you're for racism and you're for these racist ideologies.
Oh, no. They don't. No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Again, they're going to say, oh, how dare you? How dare you bring up race? They're not going to say that, oh, well, you know what? When it comes to, the death penalty, no, you just can't sit here and make this thing about race. You can't do that. This is who they are. And so, again, for the people who don't know, who are unfamiliar with this, go to my iPad. This is what I call the Atwater tapes. Go. And I want y'all to listen. Turn the audio up. Actual words of one of the top Republican strategists, the late Lee Atwater.
Here's how I would approach that issue as a statistician or as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all aren't quoting me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts your backfire. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff.
You hear that? He said 1954, you would say nigger, nigger, nigger. 68, you can't say nigger, nigger, nigger. He said, so what do we start saying? Forced busing, states' rights. Keep listening.
And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing. and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger, you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
That was Lee Atwater. The Republican Party has been executing that strategy ever since. It started off as a Southern strategy, and it has continued ever since.
And now the key term is DEI and the attack of DEI.
Yeah, no, it's the latest. No.
Yeah.
In 2021, it was BLM terrorist. 2022, critical race theory. 2023, woke. 2024, DEI. When they say DEI hire, before that it was affirmative action. Before that it was quota. Before that it was nigger. They're all associated.
And now it's race. Everything has to be race neutral, which I think is going to be going into 2026.
Which is nonsense.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, we just have to understand the game that they're playing, just like they're trying to play the game right now. Oh, no, I went back and listened to what Charlie Kirk had to say. And y'all are taking it out of context. No, we're not. But they're trying to explain it all away. That's what is going on. So I just need people just to realize that, listen, the strategy has never changed. It has never gone away. It simply morphs into something else. And what did Lee Atwater say there? He said it was the abstract. He said if we keep it in the abstract. He said if we talk about cutting taxes, he said that's going to hurt black people. When we start talking about a smaller government, he understands what that means because 1 out of 5 African Americans work for government. We just have to, 1 out of 5 every federal employee is African American. We just need to understand what's going on here. And so the problem is with white mainstream media, they don't want to deal with the issue of race. They want to say, oh no, these white people in the Midwestern states, the flyover states, no, it's economic anxiety. No, it's not. It's in the data, their actual feelings. And so we just have to be honest. The attacks on immigration ain't got nothing to do with sitting there. It's white fear. That's why I called my book what I called it. And so again, I need you to understand. Pull the book up. I need you to understand why the photo I chose. It is a photo from January 6th. White man has his arms outstretched, and what that symbolizes is all of this is ours. All of this is ours. That's what that photo symbolizes, and that's what this is all about. And so, unlike these other folks in mainstream media, we just call it what it is. We're real clear on what it is and what's happening right now in America. This whole white Christian nationalism, it all boils down to they are scared to death that they are going to be the minority in this country. And that's what they can't handle. These white men, these white conservative Christian men, they want their white women to shut up, stop working, stop going to college, and just lay your ass down, get pregnant, have babies, and get in the kitchen. That's what they want. It is a race policy because they can't stand the fact that you have an increasing number of Latinos, African American. They can't handle it because in their view, this is America. It's ours. And from that movie I always show it, The Good Shepherd, when he said, the rest of you are just visiting. That is their view. I'm going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about another hazing case. And y'all know how I feel about this. It just drives me crazy that we got young black men who are going to college who should not be coming home with broken bones in body bags for pledging a fraternity. So we tell about the latest case out of Mississippi. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Be sure to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to raise $1 million between now and the end of the year. We got a couple of new shows we're launching. We got some great stuff we're doing. We need 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year, which comes out to $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day to support this show and the other shows on the Black Star Network. If you want to use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see the QR code right here in the bottom left-hand corner. That's for Cash App and credit card as well. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Make sure to get, if you want to see a check and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, we talk about the principles of mindset, strategy, and execution. This week, we're adding a fourth, faith. You're going to hear from a mother and daughter duo who are helping thousands of Black women build wealth, all through their faith.
You are more than you can ever imagine. Not just obtaining things to show that, but seeing yourself.
Making your faith work for you. That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hey, I'm Malcolm Lee, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, University of Southern Mississippi and the MAGA Psi Fraternity Incorporated are facing a federal lawsuit from a student who says he was hospitalized after being hazed. Raphael Joseph alleges the abuse began in December 2022, culminating in April 2023 during the fraternity's so-called Hell Night. Joseph claims he was beaten so severely with wooden paddles that he was rushed to the hospital. He spent nearly 11 days there, underwent surgery, received a blood transfusion, and had to relearn how to walk. The lawsuit alleges that university officials were aware of the abuse but failed to intervene or discipline those responsible. His attorney, Shaquina McKenzie, joins us right now. I'm glad to have you on the show. So, okay, this was 2 years ago. So why is this now being reported now? Was it previously reported? Why is the lawsuit being filed 2 years later?
Roland, thank you so much for having me tonight. The lawsuit is being reported now because of accountability and lack of action. We've gone through the proper process of getting to where we are, but this is the beginning stages of trying to get some sort of accountability and action.
Okay, so when you say lack of accountability, so what does that mean? Is the chapter still in operation? As anyone being suspended or kicked out of the fraternity? Are they still on campus?
It's my understanding that it's a possibility that they may not be on campus at this time, but when the incident first arose, they were definitely on campus.
So but you don't know if today they have a chapter on campus?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Was there any response from the fraternity? I take it, and first of all, when were you brought onto this case?
I was brought on from the onset of the case, so I've been along for the entire ride of the treatment and healing process and everything of that sort.
So, has there been any response from Omega Psi-Phi at all?
No response.
So, meaning y'all have contacted the national office, they've not responded at all?
No, we haven't received a response. Okay.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, they haven't. We tried to, reach out to them and get a response, but there's, like I said, no accountability, no action whatsoever.
So, okay. So when this happened, did he pursue charges? Did he call the cops to say, I've been physically assaulted, I want to press charges?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to discuss the criminal aspects of the case. That would be left up to the prosecution. But according to the complaint, he's seeking damages for the wrongful acts that were taken in a civil matter.
No, I understand that. I understand this is a civil lawsuit. What I'm asking is, this took place 2 years ago, okay? And so it took place, he said it culminated on Hell Night in April 2023. He spent 11 days in jail. Did he reach out to authorities to file to press charges against the individuals that actually beat him or allegedly beat him?
I'm not sure if he pressed charges, but it's my understanding that there were some criminal aspects to the case, but I don't deal with the criminal side. I left that to the prosecution.
No. I understand you don't deal with the criminal side, but the point I'm making is was anybody ever charged, indicted, prosecuted for what took place to him?
They were charged. Who exactly, I'm not sure. But I do not know if an actual trial has been held or any type of sentencing.
Okay, so you're saying that there were folks who were actually charged. All right, fine. I mean, we'll look that up. But again, I would think that first of all, that would actually bolster your civil lawsuit if that was the case, because if they were actually convicted, I mean, that actually helps your case. So none of that is in your lawsuit.
No, none of this lawsuit doesn't deal with anything criminal.
Okay, I understand it doesn't deal with anything criminal. What I'm saying is, but nothing regarding that is even in the lawsuit. Is he still
No.
is he still enrolled at the school?
He's not, unfortunately, due to the circumstances and all of the events that arose after the incident, the lack of sincerity and just trying to make him feel comfortable from the university and the organization, he had to withdraw from the school.
Did he enroll somewhere else?
Eventually he did, but that led him to be about 2 years behind, and I think he may have had to even switch his major because it wasn't available at the school that he went to.
Andrew, got a question?
Yes. In terms of the theory of the case, can you talk to us about, for the civil case, the counts and what the theory is on liability?
Yes, in terms of USM, it's all about Title IX. We're alleging that, according to the complaint, we're alleging that USM does not take hazing against males seriously. They take female hazing cases more seriously than they take male hazing cases. According to the complaint, USM brushes off male hazing as boys will be boys, as opposed to if this were a female, they would have taken more accountability and action. This is the whole case is about, they knew that this was going on. This is not the first time that this has happened on USM campus. This is not the first time that it involved a member of Omega Psi Phi. Just a year before, one of the initiates actually came out at his probate on crutches. This was visible for everyone to see, know, and I mean, we're just alleging failure to supervise, failure to investigate, just not protecting my client's civil rights.
And also, is this also against Omega Psi Phi fraternity or just the school?
We listed both in the complaint. We actually listed multiple parties within Omega Psi Phi, but yes, Omega Psi Phi fraternity is a part of this action.
When you say multiple parties, do you mean members of Nu Eta?
Yes, we listed the local chapter, the local grad chapter, a couple of the local organizations that may be under an umbrella. We listed everybody that we feel played a role in this action.
All right, then. Well, certainly keep us abreast of the outcome of this case. Mr. McKenzie, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, last night, Jimmy Kimmel was back on air, issued an emotional monologue, about 28-minute monologue. And it was, of course, total time was 28 minutes. Of course, he became visibly emotional as he recounted the support he received from folks all across the country and the world. He emphasized the importance of free speech, sought to clarify his intentions regarding his comments regarding Charlie Kirk.
Disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever. And also, selfishly, I am a person gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me because, and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this. I've had the opportunity to meet and spend time with comedians and talk show hosts from countries like Russia, countries in the Middle East, who tell me they would get thrown in prison for making fun of those in power, and worse than being thrown in prison. They know how lucky we are here. Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country. And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal. That's not American. That is un-American, and it is so dangerous.
Now, the White House has spent lots of time claiming, oh my God, they had nothing to do with this, that they're not, that this was really all about Disney. Really? This is what the twice impeached, criminally convicted con man Donald Trump actually posted on his ridiculous little Truth Social. I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution, which is BS. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings. So, Andrew, this is Trump actually contradicting the lies his own people were telling.
Yeah, how does he say that he had nothing to do with it, but then he says, well, let's try to get some more money out of them for doing it? It makes absolutely no sense. And then this stream of consciousness, which is clearly a trademark when you know that he's actually the one tweeting, is something that at this point, I don't think that anybody is taking this seriously except for the right. But the problem that we have here is now Jimmy Kimmel, in the clip that you just showed, seems a little bit scared in watching his words, because I've watched him in the past, and he usually is very confident in the words that he's using. And it seems like here that he's being very careful. And I think that that's a sign that the First Amendment is eroding, that now every time he speaks, he's going to wonder, is this something that's going to land the network in a lawsuit? Is this something that's going to get my job taken away from me again? And I think that all journalists and comedians, because that's what he is at the end of the day, he's a comedian, that they're going to all, on national television, they're all going to start changing. They're going to start changing their act. And unfortunately, the jokes may not be as funny because of it.
Well, look, we know how ridiculous he is. We know how shameful he is. And so the right is really just playing this up, loving this, and that's just who these people are. So it's utterly ridiculous in terms of how they're responding. But it's no shock. It's no shock. And so these people just, frankly, meaningless to me whatsoever. And so that's what they do. If you want to talk about stupid and how petty, childish, sophomoric Donald Trump is, so this idiot has now unveiled this portrait, this row of portraits. And it really is despicable what he's done. So let me show y'all this. Give me 1 second. So I saw this earlier on the Twitter feed of this Margot Martin, who is a special assistant to the president and communications advisor. So, you know, Trump, who is just doing stupid stuff. So You know, that walk to the White House, we've often seen videos, pictures, you know, in movies as well. And usually, so you have the colonnade, got the columns, and you got the wall. So Donald Trump decided, you know, he can't just, he can't help himself. He has to slap something on any wall. So this idiot has now put up what is called a presidential walk of fame. Okay, come on, go my iPad. I don't get it, but look how just stupid this is, okay? But I want to show you how childish he is, okay? So then you see, for some reason, I don't get it, he decides to elevate the Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, then his ridiculous photo. Then what he's done, he is so trash. He's so trash. Instead of a photo of President Joe Biden, he puts up a photo of the auto pen with Joe Biden's signature. And then we get to see his shameful, ugly mug. Andrew, this is what I mean by a childish, despicable human being.
I mean, I was going to ask first, because I think I'm still believing that I'm dealing with a logical...
No, you're not. No, you're not. You weren't 4 years. You weren't 8 years ago. You're not dealing with it now. These people are childish, pathetic, and they're despicable.
And they're just coming up with new ways just to push the envelope. You know, somebody in a meeting had to have said, hey, look, we're not going to put up his picture because we hate him that much because he beat us. So we're going to go ahead and just put up a signature instead, right? And let's make fun of him that way. And then us also, you know, tilt things up so that everyone knows who's at the top because I'm at the top because I'm the best, right? I don't have a very good Donald Trump impression, but I imagine that that's how the meeting went. There was no opposition. Everybody probably had a good chuckle out of it. And then they pushed it out to the masses to disrespect a very good president and Joseph R. Biden. So I'm not surprised. But every time I see things like this, I always am just like this. They just keep pushing the envelope further and further away from being professional and from being actual politicians and government officials that we can actually take serious.
Well, we can't take this one serious. All right, gotta go to a break. We come back. Donald Trump is constantly attacking educators, and so are all these other MAGA folks all across the country. The National Education Association, the NEA, they're doing all they can to fight back. We'll talk to their president next, right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
In my book, The Power to Persist, I share 8 simple yet powerful habits, a blueprint for transforming obstacles into opportunities and pressure into purpose. Just as they fueled my rise from the South Side of Chicago to a national stage. And on the Power to Persist podcast, I bring that blueprint to life.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Hurricane Katrina, 20 years later. Cannot believe that it's been more than 20 years since we saw Black people and Black communities across New Orleans and the South being failed by our government. But it's a harrowing lesson. We're going to unpack how race and class intersect in ways and how we need to talk about this government doing more for our communities. Again, you're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
What's up? It's the MCEO Talib Kweli. You are checking out Roland Martin Unfiltered.
There's a massive attack against public education in this country by the far right MAGA Donald Trump. They want to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. They're cutting grants, they're cutting access, they're getting rid of meals for low-income students, you name it. And they claim that this is all in the interest of improving education. Then you've got Ryan Walters, the superintendent of Oklahoma, who says, oh, his great idea is to mandate every high school have a Turning Point USA chapter on their campus. How is that going to improve the low education and the low test scores and passage rates of Oklahoma? You see, this is what these folks are all about. And what it is, again, it is to drive and to enrage their particular base as well. And they always are attacking the teachers' unions. Becky Pringle, she's the president of the National Education Association. She joins us right now. Glad to have you here. These SNAP cuts, for folk who don't understand, and I think a lot of people don't understand, and I remember having a teacher at my high school, Jack Yates High School. I had gone back and I was talking to the faculty there, and we were talking, and she said, people do not understand what it's like to be in a classroom with a group of angry children. And she said, and then when you find out why they're angry, she said, when you had one meal the previous day, when you come to school and you haven't had breakfast, when you understand that life, she said, it's a whole different deal. When I worked in Chicago, you know, the amount of money the city of Chicago was spending to literally send food home with kids because they were starving. This is a real thing, and for these so-called pro-lifers, they don't give a damn. Their whole deal is just cut it.
Roland, it's good to be here with you again. You're absolutely right, and we are fighting to ensure that our children eat. Who doesn't want to feed the babies, Roland? Who doesn't want to feed the babies?
The Republican Party.
Clearly, because when they passed that big, horrible, really bad, no good bill, it cut major programs that impact our kids directly. So you started with food because that's as basic as it gets, right? If kids come to school hungry, they can't learn. If kids come to school hungry, not only can they not learn, but they're more likely to interrupt the learning of other students. If kids come to school hungry, then we know that they are not focused, not academically. They can work collaboratively with other students. We know that. We have evidence. And by the way, Roland, we also have evidence that they are not successful academically. And not that we actually need evidence of that. Do we actually need evidence that when people are hungry, they can't focus? So this administration, as you know, cut $186 billion from the student nutrition program. And that means that 18 million children will lose school meals. And we all saw it, right? In it's like we forgot. We all saw it in COVID when the light was shining, the light of inequities around everything was showing. We saw, it wasn't only our kids, by the way, who came up to those places where our teachers and school bus drivers and food service workers were handing out meals. It was our families too. We have an issue in this country with hunger. And when we're talking about cutting money for our kids to be able to eat, not only is that not okay, but we have to understand what that means, not just for the hungry child, but for all of our children.
And again, when we talk about SNAP benefits, I think people really are confused. Some people seem to have this idea that we're just giving people, you know, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month to buy food. That's not what the average SNAP benefit is.
It's not, and let me add to that too, Roland, because I know you've heard this too. That many people don't believe they benefit from SNAP benefits. But let me just point out 2 states. In Texas, over 3 million kids depend on those benefits. That's 2/3 of our children in that state. When we go to Mississippi, it's the majority, vast majority of the students that are depending on that. And then when we add to it the cuts to Medicaid, most people don't know that over 40% of our kids get their health care from Medicaid. So combined, how in the world do we think our kids can be successful, not only in learning, but in life? Well, guess what? They're not going to have those opportunities and access. They're not going to advance academically or be able to work collaboratively and solve these wicked problems that are facing this country. They're not going to be able to do that if they are hungry and they're not healthy, and they're not healthy.
I'm sitting here looking at, this is a CBS news story. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull this up because I think people need to understand. They lay out about 2.4 million people, or about 6% of enrollees could lose access to SNAP. They also, their story says, millions more will see their monthly benefit amounts shrink because of other changes mandated by the law, such as a new restriction on how individuals' benefits are calculated. The total pool of people who will either be cut from SNAP or see smaller monthly benefits could reach 22.3 million U.S. families, according to a July analysis from the Urban Institute. About 42 million individuals in 22.3 million households received food stamps in 2023, according to a U.S. Department of Agriculture report on the program. Again, it's food. And these folks have been going through you can't buy certain food items. How dare you? You be buying lobster. What are you doing? Stuff along those lines. And you just sit here and you just shake your head and you're like, what the hell is wrong with you? And here's the other deal. A whole bunch of these people, because see, again, a lot of these average white people out here thinking, oh, that's the black folks, they're helping illegal. No. They're cutting the benefits of poor white people.
It's one of the reasons why Roland and I talk about the outsized impact in rural communities. And we have rural white communities, we have rural black communities, rural indigenous communities. And the impact is outsized because those communities depend on funding from the federal government more than others. And let me add this too, Roland, because this is something that a lot of people don't know. When the Trump administration decided to cut everything that supports the American people, some of the things that that folks didn't know that is directly tied to health and food. And that is just cuts to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. People don't know that those cuts actually impacted our schools in this way. We were not getting the funding that we had gotten previously for creating and making healthy foods. We had done so much work, Roland, during the Biden administration to really not only talk about feeding kids, but making sure that they had healthy foods. So during that administration, we really dug into what's called scratch cooking. And you and I know what that is. And not everybody knows what that is. You know, Roland, my mom was the head cook at a Head Start center in Philly. And I'm going to tell you, my mother could do some stuff with government-issued cheese that would make you want to slap your mother. Not mine, of course. Every official from the school district that can find their way to her Head Start Center for that Wednesday Thanksgiving meal, because she knew how to do scratch cooking. And the U.S. Department of Agriculture was providing funds to schools so we could teach our food service workers how to do that kind of scratch cooking so they could work with healthy ingredients and fresh foods. Cut. So it's not only the food itself, but it is the quality of the food too, Roland. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about not doing what we must so that our kids can learn and they can live and they can thrive.
This was a graphic of that CBS story that's pretty interesting. And so here's what's crazy. You're talking about SNAP benefits on the high end of $231 a month. And it shows that each state, people who are expected to lose at least $25 a month. Some people could lose more. We're not talking about lots of money. That's what's crazy. But guess what? If you were getting $231 or you were getting $100 and you got $25 cut, yeah, that's a big number. That's a huge cut.
It is a huge cut. And one of the things that we've been doing at the NEA, Roland, is, when people hear you quote those numbers, it doesn't become real for them. They can't, who understands billions of dollars? Well, there are some people who understand that, but the average person doesn't understand that. So one of the things that we did at the NEA was that we broke those cuts, whether we're talking about SNAP cuts or we're talking about Title I cuts for our students from low-income families, or we're talking about cuts to special education, or making sure that we're supporting our students with disabilities. And we broke it down, Roland, from those billions of dollars, state by state, and then digging even further, congressional district by congressional district, so that people could talk about it in real numbers, so they understood, no. Yeah, $186 billion. But let me tell you what that means in your school. Let me tell you how many kids in your school will not eat. Let me tell you how many kids in your community will go hungry. That's what we have to do. And I invite your listeners to go to nea.org/protect so you can get more information and you can break it down, because we've got to engage in that, organizing 101, where we're having those conversations with individual people so they understand how it's impacting their students, and then how that impacts all students.
Absolutely. The battle continues, and as we say, elections have consequences, and so for the folks who thought this wasn't going to happen, it did. And trust me, Republicans, they're not done. They actually want to get rid of SNAP altogether. So folks need to understand what's really at stake here.
They do, and let me tell you something, Roland. They may try to silence us, but that's not going to happen. We will lift up our voices and we will tell the stories of real children and real educators and real parents who are fighting for a public education system that is at the cornerstone of this democracy, and we will not stop.
All right. Becky Pringle, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roland.
All right, folks, going to break. What happens when a candidate running for governor, talking about education, says segregation? Not bad. That happened in New Jersey. I'm going to play it for you when we come back. Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars are critically important. The goal is to get 20,000 people on average contributing $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Support this show, the other shows on the Black Star Network, the new shows we're adding. We're going to be adding 2 new shows, maybe 3 shows by the end of the year. A lot of things going on, but your support is critically important. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You can also use the QR code for credit cards as well. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment.
I'm Dr. Greg Carr, and coming up on The Next Black Table, we're speaking with Dr. Lucius T. Outlaw Jr., master teacher and philosopher. He takes us on his journey to discover and celebrate Black philosophy.
From my undergraduate years at Fisk all the way through my PhD, I was never in a philosophy class where I had a professor who was a person of African descent, nor assigned a text written by a person of African descent, ever.
How he pushed back at those who said there was no such thing and got us all thinking about what it means to be Black. That's on The Next Black Table, exclusively on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
This week on the other side of change.
Hurricane Katrina, 20 years later. Cannot believe that it's been more than 20 years since we saw Black people and Black communities across New Orleans and the South being failed by our government. But it's a harrowing lesson. We're going to unpack how race and class intersect in ways and how we need to talk about this government doing more for our communities. Again, you're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Republican Jack Ciattarelli is running against Congresswoman Mickey Sherrill for New Jersey governor. They had a debate, and during this exchange, the issue of schools and racial segregation came up. Listen to what Homeboy said.
Since 2018, New Jersey has been embroiled in a lawsuit arguing more needs to be done to improve the state's segregated school districts, a problem rooted in long-standing housing discrimination and the number of small districts. Would you continue fighting this in court, and what do you think New Jersey can do to achieve less segregated schools?
We do have the most segregated schools, but I wonder if we would be having this discussion if the performance of schools with predominantly Black student populations were outperforming schools with predominantly white populations. We need to get back on day one to improving all of our schools, and I intend to do that with a high-impact curriculum. New Jersey recently slipped from 2 to 12 on the national report cards. Most of that's because we haven't made up for all the learning loss following the pandemic when Phil Murphy and the Democrats shut down our schools for 2 years. We opened up our nursing homes, but we closed down our schools. Louisiana and Mississippi have moved significantly. Louisiana from 48 to 32 with a high-impact curriculum. What is that exactly? If your child is behind grade level in any of the critical life skills like reading, writing, and math, that child will spend the next market period and the one thereafter doing nothing other than reading, writing, math to get them on grade level. The data is clear. I'm a data-driven guy as an MBA CPA. If the child is not on grade level for reading, writing, math by the end of 8th grade, more than likely they will be underemployed their entire life. So while that lawsuit proceeds, let's fix the schools on day one with a high-impact curriculum.
So I spoke before about county-based school systems because that can help address the segregation that we have going on in the state. It's also the way we have some of our best performing high schools. But we need to do more. We need high intensity tutoring because we know there's learning loss. And that's a special kind of tutoring that I've supported here in the state to make sure students get back on track. We also need to address third grade reading and make sure we're pushing in phonics-based reading. We know that's the best way to help children read, and it's a reversal of the way reading has been taught lately. And we know third grade is that critical inflection point, because if you're not reading at grade level by third grade, you're not going to be able to move on very well to your math and social studies and history work if you can't read your homework. So in these ways, we can really push in as a state, get better outcomes, and address the segregation that we have going on here.
Could you qualify if you're going to, with the lawsuit, clarify? Could you clarify if you're going to continue to pursue the lawsuit?
I don't think it's the governor that's pursuing the lawsuit. The entity that's pursuing the lawsuit, I'm not going to get in the way. What I'm going to do on day one is fix our educational system. It's not the executive branch that's pursuing that lawsuit.
They're fighting the lawsuit. The state is fighting the lawsuit.
Yeah, we're not going to do that if they let the lawsuit proceed. But I'll tell you what, I was in Newark this morning at a house of worship that has the largest black congregation in the state. And you know what they said to me? Fix our school system. Fix our school system. So there's a number of metrics that tell us if a school system is failing: attendance rate, graduation rate, performance on standardized tests, readiness for career if you're not going to high school, going to college. If a school system is failing in 2, 3, or 4 out of 4 of those categories, that district, that community needs choice. I'm going to give them choice. My opponent is not going to give them choice.
Mikey Sherrill, but 30 seconds for that, 30 seconds.
I think what you just heard is a very clear difference. I care deeply about our school system, and I'm going to make sure it performs better. I'm going to make sure that we're educating children for the future, especially with AI coming. But I'm also going to attack the segregation that we have going on in the state. My opponent doesn't care about that. He just wants to talk about the schools, but has not come forward with any solution for the segregation. I care about both. That's what I'm going to do as governor.
Final word?
We could integrate the Newark school system tomorrow, and it's not going to improve student performance. We need to change the curriculum.
Final thought, Mikey Sherrill, before our next
I think
question.
you heard again that he has no intention of addressing the segregation in this state.
Andrew, I thought it was interesting. This was reversed, and it was nearly all black schools performing at the top. We wouldn't be having this conversation. Yes, we would, because white folks would be losing their minds.
Absolutely. And the issue that I think both of those candidates in that clip did not address is the fact that it matters what zip code you are in, it is what school you end up going to. So if someone can afford to live in a certain zip code, they don't have the opportunity to go to a school that might be better funded. And then the other issue of, are you underfunding these schools in certain zip codes, and then you're giving more money to schools in other zip codes? Because it seemed like he was going to continue that same trend. It didn't seem like he wanted any kind of equality. He said he wanted to change the curriculum, but he talked nothing about the funding issue and the systematic racism that's happening in New Jersey that's promoting this segregation.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, come on. We know what the hell's going on when it comes to these schools. Let's not play any of these little silly games. Speaking of silly, y'all, the internet is just always showing themselves out. So some folks put together this satirical video of a lot of these Republican talking points, and then I saw it, and they use AI for a lot of it. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So what the hell? Here we go.
Sir, the bill cut off your access to crutches. What now? It's fine. If billionaires walk taller, I'll crawl lower. That's freedom.
My tuition tripled. No more federal aid.
Still glad we voted for him.
Yeah, totally worth it. Billionaires need a tax break.
The big, beautiful bill shut our hospital down. Closest one's out of state. Still glad we voted for him. Hell yeah. I might even become a martyr.
One of the perks of a cross-country trip is stopping for a meal and meeting the friendly folks who make up the heart and soul of our country. Hello, we're from the Northeast. Okay, then. We'll do 55 pancakes to go.
Trump! 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 Trump!
So I'll be losing my health insurance. Don't worry about your son's cancer. We've got thoughts and prayers. Billionaires needed another yacht.
They raised our taxes and cut Medicare.
I'm gonna die.
Still glad we voted for them.
You're right. Anything for our king.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Side effects of this budget may include homelessness, poverty, and bankruptcy. Please consult your local representative.
Andrew, I thought that was great. I mean, because it's right. All these people here voting against their own interests, and they should be exposed.
They should, and kudos to whoever did that video. I thought that was great, and they absolutely just voting against your interests, and that just put it together so perfectly. I thought that was great.
Yep, I thought it was on point. Speaking of on point, how American media covered Donald Trump's stupid speech to the United Nations was really pathetic. And this fool is still going on and on and on. We're going to figure out, who turned my teleprompter off and the escalator stopped working. I'm like you're a petulant little child. But the folks at the BBC, they had no problem eviscerating Donald Trump, showing the level of pettiness and stupidity and the lie after lie after lie. If y'all want to see how mainstream media in America should be reporting on this, watch what the BBC did.
President Trump has addressed world leaders at the United Nations in New York for the first time in 5 years. In an extraordinary speech, he took aim at European countries, saying they were going to hell because of immigration and a failed experiment of open borders. He criticised London's mayor, Sir Sadiq Khan, the first Muslim mayor of a Western capital, and said London wanted to go to Sharia law. A spokesman for the mayor said they wouldn't dignify the president's appalling and bigoted comments with a response. Donald Trump also called climate change the greatest con job perpetrated on the world and said green energy schemes were a joke. Well, BBC Verify's Nick Beak has been looking at each of his claims. More from him in a moment. But first, our North America editor, Sarah Smith, is in New York and has just sent us this report.
Mr. President. Donald Trump came with a message to the UN about where it's going wrong and to tell its member countries what they need to change, railing against what he called the double-tailed monster of immigration and green energy. He repeated his familiar claim to have ended 7 wars and complained he'd had no help from the UN in doing so.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much.
The escalator stopped just as he got on, a perfect illustration for Mr. Trump of everything he thinks is wrong with the UN. He talked about the conflicts he's not been able to end in Ukraine and in Gaza, criticising nations like the UK who have recognised Palestinian statehood.
We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities.
On Ukraine, he said he could impose much tougher sanctions on Vladimir Putin, but won't unless European countries stop buying energy from Russia.
And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. But they have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time.
Immigration, he said, is destroying countries around the world, saying Europe in particular is in serious trouble.
They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable.
He singled out Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, for criticism.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that.
Mr. Khan has said he's not going to dignify these bigoted comments with a response.
Would be too great.
The other great threat facing the world, according to President Trump, is not climate change, but attempts to halt it with renewable energy. Global warming, he said, is a hoax.
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
He specifically chided the UK for not drilling for more oil under the North Sea. For almost an hour, he lectured world leaders on what they're doing wrong, as he bragged about what he sees as his great successes in office.
But first, let's go to BBC Verify's Nick Beake in Washington. And Nick, you've been going through some of the claims. Let's start with London wants to go to Sharia law.
Yeah, that's right, Sophie. This was the startling claim made by President Trump today. Part of his message that immigration is destroying European countries, including the UK. We know that for the best part of a decade, Trump has attacked Sir Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. But this appears to be the first time the president has claimed that London wants to go to Sharia law. There was this myth on the internet about 5 years ago that was quickly and easily debunked that the legal system would be moving to Sharia law. So that was then. Today, the mayor of London's office said that these comments didn't really dignify a response. They called them appalling and bigoted. And a government minister said for the record that Trump's claim was false.
What about climate change? The president said it was the greatest con job ever.
Yeah, he did, Sophie. The thing is that decades of specialist research really torpedoes that argument. The vast majority of scientists and experts say that climate change caused by humans is real. And here's a quote. This is from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, made up of hundreds of leading scientists. Human activities, principally through emissions of greenhouse gases, have unequivocally caused global warming.
And finally, he also said, he told world leaders that he has ended 7 wars. Has he?
No, he hasn't, Sophie. That is not the case. Trump claimed that thousands of people were dying in each of these 7 wars he talked about. But the reality is very different. Some of them were very quick skirmishes across borders. There was one that was a dispute between Egypt and Ethiopia over water, over the construction of a dam on the River Nile. There was no fighting there. President Trump says he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, but the war in Gaza continues, as to the war in Ukraine, which, of course, Mr. Trump said he could end in just 1 day, Sophie.
Nick Beake, thank you. Well, Sarah Smith is still with us, as you just saw. Sarah, how did this address to the United Nations go down?
Well, that's really interesting because you could see how uneasy many of the world leaders listening to it were by the looks on their faces. But they haven't come out and criticised them yet. In fact, we've had the UN Secretary General repeating that they believe that America is essential to the work of the United Nations. Ursula von der Leyen from the European Union, for instance, has said she agrees with Donald Trump about Europe's need to end its reliance on Russian oil. I mean, Donald Trump came here 7 years ago and bragged about his achievements in office. And the people listening to him actually laughed at him. It was a humiliating moment for him. But things have changed so much. Nobody dares do that now. So even as they listen to him lecture them on how they should be running their own countries with these fixations on climate change and on immigration, He was still applauded at the end of it because everybody knows they have to treat Donald Trump much more carefully now.
Our North America editor Sarah Smith in New York. Thank you.
See, that's how you break down the lie after lie, Andrew. But unfortunately, national media here, including that lie factory, Fox News, they don't care. They love it.
Yeah, I actually watch BBC more often than I watch local news, because when they talk about the United States, it's no holds barred. And right now, they really are looking at us like we are a joke and that our leadership is laughable. And it's sad because although they believe that the United States is important because of historic reference, right now we have people in leadership that are all about their own self-interest, their own hatred for anything else that is not white male.
Tell you right now, listen, they should have laughed at him because he looked like a buffoon standing up there insulting other countries. All right, folks, so some other news. 2 black men who were wrongfully accused in one of Boston's most notorious murder cases are finally getting some compensation. Alan Swanson and Willie Bennett will each receive a $150,000 settlement from the city more than 3 decades after being wrongfully blamed for the 1989 murder of Carol Stewart. At that time, Carol's husband, Charles Stewart, told police that a black man had carjacked them and pulled the trigger. The false accusation not only intensified racial tensions in Boston, but also placed innocent black men under suspicion. Eventually, the truth emerged, and guess what? It was that white man, Charles Stewart, himself who killed his pregnant wife and even injured himself to cover up the crime. He later jumped to his death from a bridge as the story began to unravel. Bennett will receive $100,000, where Swanson will receive $50,000. Now, I love this story here. Predominantly black high school in Memphis, Tennessee, was told that they were just too loud for a football game, and they got louder. The Memphis Central High School band says they were barred from playing at a varsity game in Brighton, pretty much white school, on Friday because they were considered a distraction and too loud. In response, the band showed up not with instruments, but with kazoos. The superintendent of Memphis Shelby County School District, Dr. Roderick Richmond, released a statement. He said, "I want to address the recent decision that prevented the Central High School band from performing at a Brighton High School football game on Friday, September 19, 2025. The award-winning CHS band is a source of pride for our district, having earned top honors at an international jazz festival earlier this year. Their dedication and talent are exceptional, and their performance would have been a highlight for all in attendance." While Brighton High's administration expressed concern about the sportsmanship, it is important to note that there is no TSSAA rule restricting bands from playing during live game action. As a former high school student athlete and college drum major, I know firsthand how athletics and the arts enrich student experiences. This is why both are pillars of our district's 5A's program, because they help shape well-rounded, confident young people. As a former principal, I understand the challenges school leaders face. That said, I stand in full support of the CHS band students, their director, and their principal. These scholars devote countless hours to practice and deserve opportunities to showcase their talent and hard work. We were pleased that the CHS band members and fans attended the game and found an amicable way to support our student athletes. We are certainly open to constructive dialogue with the BHS principal and superintendent concerning their stance on future band appearances. It was hilarious, y'all. Here's turn the audio up, them playing their kazoos during the game. Yeah, that was just too fun there. So I say, hey, next time bring cowbells. Just drive them crazy. Have cowbells ringing all day, Andrew, just to piss them off.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I love football just like the next person. Actually ref high school games on the weekends. But the band is why people are coming to these games. And I don't understand why you would not want these kids to play. But it's so funny, Roland, because you set that up in the beginning of this show. You talked about how we all need to be mindful that they're not just going to come out and say the N-word anymore, but they try to build these rules and attack these different rules to say, no, this is giving your team an advantage because now your team is hyped. They have some rhythm. They got their music. They got their band playing in the background, and they're killing us. So we got to get this band out of here. We need some kind of noise ordinance. And now these kids are so sophisticated and so creative that they said, well, fine, let's go ahead and bring out the kazoos. I love it.
Yeah, pretty, just pretty stupid. But you know what? That's how it is. All right, going to a break. We come back. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke today about the budget impasse. We'll show you some of that when we come back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
In my book, The Power to Persist, I share 8 simple yet powerful habits, a blueprint for transforming obstacles into opportunities and pressure into purpose. Just as they fueled my rise from the South Side of Chicago to a national stage. And on the Power to Persist podcast, I bring that blueprint to life.
Said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
Y'all know Chris can't count on 56. All right, y'all, this just happened moments ago. Vice President Kamala Harris is having her book tour. She was speaking in Manhattan, and all of a sudden, pro-Palestinian protesters break out. Y'all notice, they never, ever go to a Trump event. Now, they broke out at Barack Obama's at a place he was speaking at just last week. Y'all keep showing up at Democrat events, but you never show up at Trump events. All right, this took place. Watch this.
What I know about how and why you are saying what you are saying now and how I felt about it, you're not letting me talk. You know what? I respect your right to speak, but you're not letting me
Andrew, here's how I understand. They never show up at a Trump J.D. Vance event. Never.
No, they don't. They just choose to show up at Democratic events and cause this whole big scene, this whole interruption. And then we have the great, who I call the great. I know people can debate me about this, but I call the great Kamala Harris, former vice president, speaking and really bringing down the temperature, because she really could have raised the temperature. She could have said some things to ignite the temperature in the room at that point, but she didn't. And I love her for that. But we do show up in our own way in their places, Roland. It's not MAGA that's showing up in their spaces, but we do show up in their spaces as well.
Who?
To derail.
No. I'm specifically speaking of pro-Palestinian protesters. Why is it that they will interrupt an Obama event, a Harris event, but they never interrupt a Trump J.D. Vance event? And who's in the White House right now?
Yeah, and you know, I would have to disagree with you on that, because I think that they are showing up.
Show me the video. Show me the proof.
When Trump was in Georgetown. Okay.
No, when Trump was at Georgetown, when?
When Trump was in Georgetown, and he was eating, I forget the restaurant it was.
No.
Georgetown.
No. I didn't say the restaurant. Show me when Donald Trump or J.D. Vance is speaking somewhere at a rally or whatever. Show me when they're there.
Oh yeah, I agree. At the UN speech, there should have been someone that.
No. That's hold up. That's diplomats. No, I'm talking about whenever there's a rally. I have never seen. I don't see them ever interrupting a Trump J.D. Vance rally. I haven't. Have you?
Wow.
No, seriously. Have you ever seen? Hold up, 1 second.
Not at a rally. No,
I mean, look. I'm gonna go to my. Hold up. Let's see here. J.D. Vance was speaking today somewhere, running off his mouth, lying, and yeah, he was speaking. I mean, here he was speaking somewhere today. I don't recall them showing up there. I don't recall them interrupting what he had to say.
Yeah.
So again, so what's the point of being a pro-Palestinian activist and you're showing up at a Kamala Harris book event? She's not in the White House.
She's lost that power.
Yeah. She's not there. So you show up at, hold up, let's see here. Because Obama told him, like, hey, just so y'all know, I'm not the person who is in power. You know, let me see if I can find it. This happened just last week, and again, he was just, you know, sitting there, and they didn't say nothing, didn't do nothing. And again, I just don't understand why they continue to do this. They will have an outburst at a Democratic function, but they won't say anything. They won't say anything when Trump or Vance speaking. I don't understand what they're getting out of it.
Well, Roland, they protest in different ways, and I have to push back, because they do equal opportunity interruptions. It may not be at the rallies.
Okay. All right. So if they do it at a Democratic event, show me when they done a Republican one. Show me. Where was it?
So it's not at these rallies or events. I agree that I don't have any rallies, but just a few weeks ago in Georgetown, Donald Trump was trying to celebrate the fact that he had this presence. And there was a lady that came in to Joe's Seafood and interrupted his dinner.
No, I remember.
Protested.
No. I'm being very specific.
That's in his face.
Right. I got it. I mean, very specific. Okay, gotcha. That's one. What else?
Yeah, they don't show up, and now they don't get in. They don't always get into the venues as
No.
right?
You gave me one. Give me another.
Now, I guess I can't give you a public speech.
No, just give me. I'm just gonna ask for another one.
JD Vance was in. He was at the Union. He was at Union Station doing this photo op. And this was again during.
And they right, and they yelled at him about the National Guard.
They yelled at him about the National Guard. They also did Free Palestine as well.
Right. So here we go. This is Obama six days ago. So in a week, we've seen them go at Obama, Kamala Harris. No evidence of Trump. Turn it up.
The states currently. So there's no point in shouting at me. There's no point in shouting at me about it. I'm not in charge of foreign policy currently. Those who carried out October 7th.
So again, they'll shout at Obama, they'll shout at Harris. That's 2 in 6 days. I don't see it at a Trump Vance event. I don't see it at his Secretary of State. I don't see it at a Hegseth event. I don't see it at a Kristi Noem event. It's amazing how the folk, and again, I understand their argument. I understand what they're saying. I understand why they're doing it. My problem is it's pointless to show up at event. How about this here? Show up at a Mike Johnson event. He's the Speaker of the House. Show up at a Thune event. He's the Senate Majority Leader. They don't show up at Republican events.
And I believe that what they're trying to do here is garner support from the Democrats, which they have.
Wait a minute, hold up. What? Okay, there's no point in Okay, Andrew, here's the problem. Who controls the White House right now?
The Republicans.
Who controls the House? Who controls the House?
Republicans.
Who controls the Senate?
Republicans.
So what the fuck does it matter trying to get something from Democrats? They don't control a lever of government. There's nothing the Democratic Party can do when it comes to what Israel's doing to Gaza. Nothing. They don't have any power. So I don't understand. You protest two people, a former president and a former vice president who's not in office, but you don't protest the person the people who are in office, who actually have the power. I'm confused.
Now, they still are protesting them. They're just not doing it in the same format.
Okay, so explain to me again. Okay, gotcha. Okay, a couple of people accosted Trump at a restaurant in D.C. Got it. Okay, what else? Show me what else.
Don't forget about JD Vance. They accosted him in Union Station as well. And they do show up when it comes to I believe it was were they at the State of the Union address?
No.
Well, somebody needs to speak to that.
No, I'm speaking to it. And what I'm saying is, it's performative. If you're going to show up at a Harris event and a Barack Obama event, two people who are not in power, and you do not show up and do the same to Vance or Trump, it's a waste of time.
Well, I think that showing up for Vance or Trump is going to be a waste of time anyway, because they're not going to respect the demands.
So hold on. I'm now confused. So the people in power aren't going to respect their demands. So I'm not going to show up there, but I'm going to show up to two people who are not in power, who actually respected me and my people more than those two. So that makes sense.
to bring awareness. It does. There's going to be a lot more people that are going to be empathetic to that position.
Great. So more people are going to be empathetic to your position by showing an event for Harris and Obama, and nothing will be done about your cause, but you feel great because you stood up at a Harris-Obama event, but we're just not going to show up at all to an event of the people who are actually in power.
Because would it kill these politicians to stand up and say that genocide is wrong?
They have.
It seems like
hold on. They have. Wait. I'm confused. They have. Obama has. Harris has. Okay, got it. They've said that, but they have no power. So normally when you protest the people who are in power. Normally you put pressure on the people who are in power. You don't protest. That's like black people during the civil rights movement protesting people who weren't the sheriff or the mayor or the county commissioner or the president. So black people were like, yeah, we're going to go protest these people to change the law, but the people we're protesting have no power to change the law. So we're going to go protest them, and we're not going to go protest the people who actually have the power to change the law. So Dr. King, no, I'm not going to go meet with Lyndon Baines Johnson, put pressure on him. I'm going to go meet with Harry Truman, who's not even in the White House, to put pressure on him to get LBJ to do something. Do you see how that makes no sense?
No, I agree that the way that you're presenting it, yes, it can make no sense.
Right, it doesn't make any sense.
Overall,
so the logic okay, if your goal is to stop something, shouldn't I target the people who could stop it?
Yeah, what better place to catch them than while they're eating dinner? Right in their face.
Okay, one time. Okay, got it. Hold up. That's one time. That's one time they protested Trump. Give me another one.
Not that I could think of off the top of my head.
Gotcha, but I can pull up multiple videos of them doing it to Harris during the campaign. Okay, fine. Let's take the campaign. How many times did they interrupt Trump at a rally during the campaign?
They're probably not at the rallies. Not in the immediate vicinity of the rally. I mean, but that's
how many times did they interrupt Harris at the rally?
But that's akin to the video we saw in Tennessee of the MAGA guys setting up the stand.
No. They were protesting. No, they were protesting Harris because Harris was in power again. So you're protesting Harris and Biden while they were in power, but you're not protesting Trump and Vance when they're in power. It's utterly illogical to me. It's an absolute waste of a protest to yell and scream at somebody who ain't even in office. It's a waste. It's a complete waste of time. All right, Andrew, that's it. We're out of time. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, support the work that we do here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. If you want to support our show, please do so by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to give via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. You can also use the QR code. Credit cards as well. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Also, of course, download the Blackface Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version on Audible. Also, get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can get our t-shirts, mugs, wall art, all kinds of stuff right there at shopblackstarnetwork.com. All these products to my left on the set. You've got gym head wraps. You've got sauces. You've got face cream. You've got toilet paper. You've got hats and shirts, crossword puzzles. All of these are Black-owned products, and you can buy them, folks, at shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. Peruse our marketplace right now to check it all out. Folks, also, don't forget to support the app fan base. And we're going to download the app. Go to download the app. Then, of course, if you want to invest, startengine.com/fanbase. Startengine.com/fanbase. Folks, that is it for us. Tomorrow, we've got members of Congress who are going to be joining us. Congressional Black Caucus Foundation annual legislative conference is taking place, kicked off today. So we're going to be having some various stuff covering that as well. So that's what we got going, folks. And we'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!